Welcome to the Forecast by Bamboozer, your guide to the future of retail, tech, and innovation. We bring you insights from the world's frontrunners so you can stay ahead of the curve and win big. Let's go. Kay Barron, fashion director at Net-a-Porter Group and published author of the book How to Wear Everything, knows a thing or two about fashion communication. As a key opinion leader in her industry, she needs to be not only up to date on current trends, but also to anticipate the demands of tomorrow's consumer. In this episode of The Forecast, Kay Barron sits down for a conversation with Bamboozer CEO Mariam Garamani to share how she approaches innovation, trend anticipation, and key opinion leadership in the cross-section of technology and fashion.
Kay, thank you so much for joining The Forecast today.
Thanks for having me.
I am very excited for this discussion. And as you know, I have been following both you and Net-a-Porter for years at Bamboozer. And I've been so continually impressed by your spirit of both innovation, but also your outstanding results. And before we jump into this discussion that I'm so excited about, I thought that we would do a quick presentation to our audience of who we are. So I can start very quickly. My name is Mariam Garamani. Please call me Mary. I'm the CEO of Bamboozer, and I joined the company back in 2018 and was a part of the team that pivoted into live shopping back in 2020, and now today a full video commerce platform. Very short about me, and over to you, Kay.
Short about me too. So I'm Kay Barron, fashion director at Net-a-Porter and now Mr. Porter. I've been there for 12 years, which is crazy. Haven't aged a day, clearly. And I'm also the author of the best-selling book, How to Wear Everything, which is a no-nonsense guide to getting dressed. And I have been one of the hosts of the Net-a-Porter live stream, which we've been doing, I think, for 4 years now. And yeah, it's been an adventure. And I have to say, I am a huge fan of live shopping.
I love that. Then we have one common interest, the love for live shopping. So let's just jump straight into it. I know that our listeners are keen to hear your insights, and I know you have a lot of those. 4 years is a long time, actually, for this channel. But going back, so Net-a-Porter is known for always being at the forefront of technology since you launched until today, and also been very early with spotting trends very early. I think what I would like to understand better is what is your secret behind spotting and cultivating opportunities within innovation and growth?
I think Net-a-Porter, it was born of innovation. It's, it was the first. They were the first to do online shopping and e-commerce in the luxury market, and still the market leader. I am biased, but I think that's true. And I think in this world and everything, because as technology changes, as social media changes, you have to constantly be kind of moving and be willing to try new things. And if they fail, then it's fine. Usually I haven't lost anything. But if they succeed and if the customers get on board with new innovations, then that's an incredible feeling.
Truly, I remember early young days trying out Net-a-Porter on very different computer than we have today, really innovating. And I think that also stays within your spirit as a company, right? If you're the first and the leader, it just stays at such a deep foundation in the company. Let's turn some attention into your work with video commerce and live shopping. And I would like to familiarize the audience with your concept. So in Net-a-Porter Live, which is what you call the format, you have been rotating between different hosts. And I think when we started out in 2020, I think we saw a lot of influencers being used for this format, right? And if I look to you, you're using a lot of in-house experts from different parts of your organization. And I think would love to understand, why did you decide to go this route rather than hiring an influencer as a host, as many brands do?
I think for us, you said, we have used both. So when we were first trialing the platform, I was actually the first host.
I love that.
Yeah, and more of that first experience later. And we were live on site when we first did it as well. And then we worked with different influencers because, influencers, by their very name, they have incredible influence and they are really powerful. So we also worked with them. But I think for consistency and the knowledge of the product, and I think that internal talent resonates so well with the Net-a-Porter customers. I think it humanizes the brand. It gives warmth to the brand because you kind of see the people behind the scenes, but also the people who really understand that product, who love that product, who know how to style it. The people I work with, they've got the most incredible taste, the most incredible style. And
must be hard to come to work.
It is. You really have to think about what you're wearing. But it means also that when I do get there, there's always somebody I'm like, oh, I haven't tried that sock and shoe combination. And then you'll see people over the next week trying it out. So we're all influencers in the office. But it's the expertise. And I think our customers really respond well to the expertise of the internal team. And I think that applies to different brands too. If you've got no one will know a brand better than the team who work there, and no one will speak to the product in the same way than a team who works with that product all the time, who owns it, who tried it, who's there kind of feeling it all the time, and can think about how it works with the rest of the collection and built into a closet.
Yeah, feels like you're living the brand and living like the assortment and the products, right? Assortment. Really cool to hear.
I've been there for 12 years. I mean, my job has changed a lot over the years, but my love of product and clothing is as strong now as it was then, and actually when I first got into the industry. And I really love product, talking to product, and helping other people choose product to buy too.
Yeah. That's super interesting. So we will dive much deeper into your work within this field, which I admire actually from a provider. And but as a teaser, can you share a bit about your concept development, because you really I love your how you've concepted this whole format and how that process looked like for you, and what considerations went into when you were crafting this format.
I have to say it's the team behind the scenes. So I'm just one cog in that process. So I think there was a lot of people who believed in, and as we say, innovation, it does take quite a while to kind of push up the hill and kind of make sure that lots of people understand how it works. I'm sure that you know that very well.
Yes. And push the customers from the hill to get started.
And it was interesting because the way that we work and the way that lots of brands work with live is to have it quite lo-fi, which I wasn't used to, because I was used to any filming I had done before, which was quite minimal, I will say, but it was quite high production. So there was, it's still, I always say, as long as there's good lighting and hair and makeup, I'm happy to do anything they want me to do. But I think with the concepting, it's been from the beginning, I think it's quite consistent. Like there may be the setup changes, but we came across something from the beginning that worked for us and worked for the customer. And it's something that a customer has to learn how to engage with. They need to understand the consistency when the franchise is back on site, and to look out for it. And so, the engagement and the reach of it has just grown and grown over the years that we've done it. So the changes that we have made to concept throughout have been kind of minimal, but they've made a big difference.
A big difference, yeah. I think from my end, looking, the past, we've been live for 5 years with, first a solution, now a platform, looking to the luxury industry. It's been really, I think luxury was quite fast with adopting the technology and the trend, but really seeing the consistency has been really hard, I would say, within luxury. And I go back to what you're saying, it's like very high quality production. Everything, like going live is like, it would be crazy in that world and in that space. It's really cool to see how you've developed it. And as you say, it's been small changes, but the impact has been quite big, right?
Yeah.
So that's really interesting, and I think a good knowledge for everyone wanting to starting with this.
Well, I do think that
space.
When it comes to in the same way with podcasts, I'm sat in my home office, you're in your office, we're in different countries, and relying on our laptops and the cameras to do the job, but which is incredibly lo-fi, but the content is what the listener is here for. And I think that and people who do podcasts, there's lots of brands who will then film a podcast and then it just becomes this huge production. But ultimately people are there to listen to what the guests are talking about. And I think with video content and lots of different brands, you have your tiered levels of content, and depending on the production values and where they sit on site or whether it's out of home, then obviously that will then dictate budget too. But I think with something like this, and the thing that really excites me is that it can be so many different levels. You can do huge production on it, or you can do it's myself, the video director, and iPhone and lighting. It's a very small production, but has massive impact on site. And I see that when I watch other people's live streams as well. And it's interesting seeing like a Zara level where they've got Cindy Crawford and Kaya creating almost like a mini movie. And then something that could be somebody in their own wardrobe at home. And I think
just as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's all compelling. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think that's really great input. Like it can be so many different tiers, and all of them works. For me, I think within luxury, luxury is one of our biggest vertical for Bamboozer. We do have a lot of both mono brands and multi brands within luxury. I've always looked at Net-a-Porter and what you're doing with really admired you guys for what you're doing, and I think you have really been and are thought leaders within this space. And I would love to hear a little bit more about you, your career, your personal mindset when it comes to being a thought leader.
It's so nice to be called a thought leader.
You are.
Thank you.
Be proud.
Well, I am now. I'll be telling everyone this weekend. I've been in fashion for many years, and it was always something that I wanted to do, but it was because of clothes. I always say when I was writing the book, I made it clear, like, this is a book about clothes, not a book about fashion, because I think fashion can intimidate people, just the word, whereas clothing is something that the majority of us, you can't opt out of it. You have to make a decision in the morning to put something on your body.
You can't.
Most of us. And for me, that relationship, and when I worked in retail when I was studying, I was a student at St. Martin's. And when I was studying to support myself, I'd work in retail. And on the shop floor in various places, I worked in Matches, which, I still feel very sad about Matches because I made some wonderful friends there. But I loved seeing the way that people responded to clothes. I mean, there would be people coming in. It was, when I think Chloe, who would have been at Chloe? I think Phoebe had just been at Chloe, and then Claire Witt-Keller came in and were just making the most amazing trousers. And women losing their minds because they couldn't get a certain trouser or a Chloe handbag, and it was the Balenciaga, when Nicolas Ghesquière was there. It was absolutely incredible. But and seeing the change in people when they put clothes on and looking at themselves in the mirror, when they suddenly think, oh, this is, wow, this is, it changes the way people stand, it changes the way that they look at themselves, and
How they
their
feel,
energy
right?
and the energy would completely change. And I think when people do suggest that fashion is frivolous or an indulgence, that drives me crazy, because I think that fashion and clothing, that the relationship we have with it can build confidence or destroy it. And I think, we all know we've been wearing those outfits in the day and you think, I don't quite feel like myself. I cannot wait to get home and get this off.
Yeah.
But whereas when you're wearing something, you're like, okay, I need to, this, I know I'll be great in that meeting, or I feel confident going out to see friends, or it's, it really can, if it doesn't, if they're not there to serve to completely build your confidence, they certainly help with it. Clothes
100%.
should never be a source of misery.
No,
and I think when I see people or hear people who open their closet doors and they're like, I hate everything, I've got nothing to wear. And I do say to them, I'm like, that usually has nothing to do with your actual closet. That's usually whatever mindset you're in. So just close the doors, step away, and then come back to it later. But no one should face getting dressed with anxiety. Like life is too short.
Life is definitely too short. Then it's better not to wear anything. Like my 6-year-old, she refuses clothes, so she can actually do that for her.
Oh, great! She's opting out.
She's opting out, and she's in an age where you can actually opt out.
She'll find the joy in it.
I think so too. She's like Steve Jobs. She wears the same things every day, in and out, and I'm like, you're so easy to dress.
So good. Well, but that's, uniform dressing, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. And I think when people do find their uniform, it's an amazing way of getting dressed. And I think you can add bits to it to kind of switch it up now and again. But it's, I find the experimentation of clothes exciting. And I do, I'll plan outfits in advance. Exciting. Yeah, I was that kid who lay my clothes out the night before, like in perfect order of how I put them on, with a backup outfit in case the weather changed. And I still do that now.
Backup. Oh my God, that's advanced. I've never heard that one.
Yeah, it's always the backup. And I'm like, okay, if it's going to rain, or if it's going to be slightly colder, or if I have to do this too, then there's the backup. Yeah. I
love that. So a little bit more about you. You said in the beginning of our call that you have published the book, How to Wear Everything, and congratulations on that launch. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that project and why you decided somehow to, complete all your knowledge into a book?
It was something I had spoken about for years. And I remember walking out for lunch one day when I was with my then colleague at Net-a-Porter. And I said, there should be a book, and it should be called How to Wear Everything. And it literally tells everyone how to get dressed in the simplest form for every occasion and event in their life. And I was like, I can't believe someone hasn't done that. And then I bored friends with it, I think, for years. And I am the queen of having these ideas and projects that then sit kind of on the side. And then I was out for lunch with a friend, and I said, I don't know why I haven't written that book. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know why you haven't written that book. I'm like, okay. So
you need friends like that, right?
Definitely, yes. He put down his knife and fork and really, really stared at me.
That's good.
So I then kind of researched, got a great agent. She found me the most amazing publisher with Penguin. I've been very lucky, and they kind of coached me through it. But I think all of us are probably a bit guilty of not understanding the expertise and the knowledge that we have, because as soon as I had kind of started writing, and I said to a friend at the beginning, I said, I was going to make sure the tone is right. And he said, and I used to work with him, and he said, well, just use that tone that you used with me when I used to come into the office wearing something you hated. He's like, you're like a strict headmistress. I'm like, am I? And it turns out I am a strict headmistress. So no nonsense guide, which is what it says on the cover, I think is probably
good. I like that. that. It's right to the point, right?
It's definitely to the point. I think there was a couple of things when my editor was reading it. She said, is that mean, or is that should you be saying that? And I was like, no, I don't think it's mean. I think it's just, it's not sugar coated.
No, I love that.
Yeah. So and got the most amazing contributors to talk through the different chapters, because it's about I took it from all the ways of dressing in the events in someone's life. So whether it's workwear, whole chapter on denim, which is you can see one of my favorites, date dressing, through events, everything from weddings to funerals. All of these.
There's always an occasion, right?
Yeah, and all of these questions that I've had from friends, family, my WhatsApp is just full of pictures of friends of mine standing in front of their mirror with piles of clothes behind them.
You should
asking
actually
me
do a
why.
book about that, maybe. Just like
What?
take out
Just
all
do-
the pictures from your WhatsApp and just,
Yeah.
that would be fun. I would like to see that.
I think some of my friends might have something to say about that. But and I wanted it to be that in book format. So my WhatsApps, my FaceTime conversations I've had with friends, and really brilliant, confident friends who are incredible. They're the top of their game in their careers, and still feel nervous about what to put on their body. And I think that's why I wanted to write it, to be like, okay, this is how to do it. And also a book that you can, it's not about reading it start to finish.
No.
Although I do test my friends in it to make sure they have.
That's good.
But yeah, but kind of dipping into, okay, it's an interview. What to wear, or how do I get ready for this? Or weekend or holiday, or how, down to how to pack. So there's a lot in there. And yeah, because I had, like Oprah Winfrey talking about winter, and Sarah Jessica Parker talking about shoes, the most amazing contributors, and Law Roach talking about events, because I do think Zendaya is the best dressed woman on the red carpet, and he does the most phenomenal job with her. So, and talking to these really inspiring people who taught me a lot about fashion and getting dressed as well, after all these years. So yeah, it was, I learned a lot from it, and I still can't believe that I wrote it, especially whilst having a full-time job.
Well done.
Thanks.
Should be proud of that too.
Yeah.
Multitasking, that's a female thing.
Yes. Well, yes. I realize that now. Yes. If you want something done, ask a busy person.
Yep. That's the best, right? You don't have any time to spare.
Exactly.
Never.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I spoke with you early, and also it's really fun, was that, as you've been doing the Net-a-Porter live shows, you've always also start building like community, right? People, like, you're being stopped on the street, like I saw you on the live show, and also like, releasing the book. Of course, you build like an audience, right?
Yeah.
And I think what have you learned, both from the audience, that you build through the live show, but also from your readers now? Like, is it anything you've learned from the ones that buy the book and reads the book? Because we spoke a bit about like the ones that have contributed to the book, right? Amazing people that you've learned from. But if we just turn it around, have you learned anything from your audience and from the readers from the book?
Definitely. And I think it is that clothes matter, and they really matter to the women who've read the book. And those who I was lucky enough to do a bit of a tour with the book, and lots of in conversation events, and so many questions afterwards about the specifics of white shirts, or the right pair of jeans, or if somebody's too old to wear something, or if something's appropriate or not. And all these rules that we've heard, in the past, like, the colors you should wear together, and things you can definitely not wear, and you can't wear stripes if you're, for whatever reason, and, black's the most slimming color. I mean, most of it is absolute nonsense. And I think there's something about learning the rules so you can break the rules. But there's also so many of these things we've heard for our whole lives growing up, especially as women. You're, they're constantly kind of the judgment of like, can I wear that? Oh, I don't know. Do I feel too old for that? And I just think you've got to just not think like that, because it's, clothes are for you. It's how you feel in what you're wearing, not about what somebody else thinks of you in clothes. And also I always think too that if people are too busy thinking about themselves to really notice what's going
100%.
on in anyone else's life. So it's absolutely about how you feel in it, and that is key. And I think that the because I've worked in fashion for so long, the majority of my friends work in the industry or did work in the industry. And I think we take it for granted that getting dressed or knowing what to put together is second nature to us because I work, I talk about clothes all
It's your
day long.
profession. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, it's like someone driving I don't know, a F1 car. Like you're not in F1 if you can't drive the car, right?
Yeah.
It's a profession to drive the car, and then it can be different cars, but you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and I get to see my incredible team of stylists putting together the most amazing looks for our campaigns and shoots. And you forget that people are very nervous about getting dressed or wearing the right thing. So I think that was the takeaway, that people just want someone to ask. So
Yeah.
now my Instagram is just they're full of DMs from people saying, I've got this occasion, what's the perfect white shirt? And I love, sorry, somebody at my door.
No.
And I love to answer them because it is, it's not, because I know, and I'm like, I want to share this knowledge. I know that this is the perfect pair of jeans for me. If this, if this is your body shape, then you should try these. If it's the white shirt you want, this is the weight that you should have. These are the places you can get them. Yeah, and it's great. It is basically, I've extended my WhatsApp conversation with friends to a much, much bigger audience.
A much bigger audience. I love that. Going back to Net-a-Porter Live, so I mean, you have been running it for some years now, and I think it's a quite hot topic, I would say, especially within the luxury industry. Is like, how do you define and measure success, right? Success looks differently for everyone. What would you say for you guys are the most important metrics when you look at the live shows you're running?
I think I'm going to be careful how I answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to reveal any secrets, but
Yeah.
like, I think there are so many different ways, and I think it would be really interesting to share with the audience, like what is your way of looking at success. It doesn't need to be a metric, but what's a successful show look like, and when do you look at the show and do not feel like this was a huge success today? Because of course there are different streams, different contents, and I think if you look at them, what makes a really successful one in your
I think
eyes?
it's when you have that kind of sweet spot of the product that you're sharing, because everything we do for Net-a-Porter and Mr. Porter is about buy now, wear now. That's how customers shop. I mean, still sometimes, and we all know as well, it's that old kind of adage of, if you want a winter coat, you have to get it in like August or September, because by the time it actually gets cold, forget it. They've all sold out. That kind of thing is true. But I think, and brands as well have come around to the idea, seasons of being like, actually, people aren't buying swimwear in March. They're going to get it in July or August, when they're going on holiday. So I think it's always thinking, always with the customer in mind. And I think if you approach any project without the customer in mind, then it's never going to be a success. Because you can be a step ahead and showing a customer maybe a different way of shopping, or and maybe showing them a trend. But I think when we come to planning the episodes, we never think in trends. It's about, okay, what is it new season? Is it because, and we do a party one around the holiday season, and we do wardrobe essentials. And wardrobe essentials will always be the one that people will engage with the most. I mean, but we see that across every kind of campaigns that we've done. Those incredible basics. It's the way I get dressed. It's probably the way that you shop too. And you're looking at wardrobe thinking, oh, I need a different shirt, or I need these and then it's how you put them together. So the curation of the product. And I think the great thing about live shopping, as you know, is you can actually see what
Yeah,
people are
live.
interested in,
Yeah.
what's they're buying immediately, what's resonating with them later, the questions, having that actual conversation there with your consumer is incredible.
So what would you say if you would give like one measurement of success
Um,
in one phrase?
well, I think it's, I mean, it's just, it's the same in any business. If, you've got if the revenue and the conversion is matching the
Yeah.
engagement, then
Then you know
that's
it's
tick
yeah.
tick. Yeah.
And I think when you do the episodes, what is it that you want to bring to your customers through the content that you're streaming, right? And what values do you focus on providing in the streams?
I think there's, because I mean, I only have experience of doing these on Net-a-Porter. And obviously I do some videos as well, like styling videos on my own channel. But I think what's the most interesting part to me is the edit and curation and looking at lots of different brands, but breaking them up. So sometimes you'll get a brand and you want to show a full look because that's the best way, and there's a lot of creative directors out there. You think, why would I break this up? This is exactly the woman I want to be.
Yeah.
But it's also about longevity and getting the most out of every single piece that you buy. And we're huge advocates of that at Net-a-Porter. It's not a piece for now and then, change it for next season. That's we don't buy like that. And our customers don't buy like that either. So it's about the mix, and it's about putting different brands together that you wouldn't maybe expect, and the mix of product. And I love it because I basically have my entire wish list from Net-a-Porter. So it's incredibly dangerous for me because when I am there trying stuff on,
It is a very different feature.
yes, and then I want everything. But it's that right from the beginning, because it's product that we all believe in, that we've really invested in, that we know the customer is going to love, and then just showing it to them. And there is something about video when there is somebody talking to it, and I see it when my colleagues are also doing them as well. And everyone offers something slightly different because everyone's got a slightly different style. So you see things in a different way. So then I think the customers then start to kind of recognize whose style they like, or if they want to see, somebody who might wear more color or somebody who's a little bit more classic. And I think that depending on the time of year and what we're talking to, then we can kind of like cherry pick the right person to speak to that.
To those values. That's fun. So you're choosing different personalities and styles, and that brings like different values into the concept.
Exactly,
I love that.
because I think brands, it's about, because we have, as I say, so many incredible talent behind the scenes, and giving them that platform to be, because that's the person I'm like, when I see them in the office being like, where's that from? I want that. And, your top's amazing. And again, just giving that on a much bigger platform to
100%.
our customers. And and it works. It is like having these friends that you kind of get to know, and with whose
Actually,
style
it's
that
so
you
much
appreciate.
fun that you're saying that. I think for me, I mean, my philosophy in life has always been that people work for people and people buy from people, right? It's the brand is important, of course, but in the end of the day, it's the person I connect to, right? You have some kind of brand, I think brand values and brand guides, and then, you can follow a brand, but you normally connect with a person, right? So I think that's
Exactly.
that
And I think
resonates.
now more than ever, brands benefit from being humanized.
100%.
And not just a kind of, I think it's hard. It's harder now to be a faceless brand. I think,
I think so too.
people
Yeah.
need to know a little bit more
Yeah.
about it and be engaged and hear the story. And I think, there's many stories behind the
Yes.
scenes in Net-a-Porter.
I think one trend that I'm a bit curious on and that we're seeing quite clearly, I think also stepping into 2025, is really that people are the new brands.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily actually need to be an influencer, but like people. And it seems like you, but also a lot of brands in general, are moving away from influencer. They're going to stay there, but I think it's a lot of highlighting on internal expertise, right? The people that has the knowledge, that has been working for a lot of years. It's like a craftsmanship of the knowledge and how you bring that out. And I think in the Western world, we don't have a good name for it, but if we just call them key opinion leaders, right? For a segment, or what do you think is the reason for this shift that is happening? What's your view on it?
I think it's a shift it's been quite slow, but I think because, and as I said before, like influencers, let's not kind of underestimate their influence, literally.
No, no. I mean, it's
But
called influencer for a reason, right?
yeah, and I was actually just on a trip this week with content creators, and it is, I mean, it's just incredible about, how like the content they're creating, they're constantly kind of like looking at things in a different way. And they all looked amazing. And I literally sort of said, I didn't take one picture the entire time, which sort of says everything about me. But they're producing the most incredible content, and each one of them were sort of seeing it in a different way. So it became very much kind of their brand and not the brand that we were away with, and which is what they're there for. And I think that with brands working with KOLs and their own talent, there's a consistency which the consumer likes, because you can work with them and kind of again and again in different franchises, and also it's incredibly genuine. And I think that's the word, being genuine and being authentic on how a brand is working and how a brand is selling or talking to their customer is essential. Because I mean, customers know when somebody's just doing something because they're getting paid for it.
Yes.
And they know the people who genuinely love that brand and know it inside out. And I think that's, and obviously, of course, with lots of influencers, they do work a lot with
different
brands, and it feels very authentic. But I think, those KOLs that come from in-house, they just offer something different because there is a true love of the product, knowledge and expertise. So I think being authentic and being an expert, that's I think why they're moving in. And it's a trial and error. I think, there's people I know who I think would be absolutely incredible presenters because they're the funniest person I know, and they're so chic, and I'm like, everything you wear I want, and you put these outfits together in the most amazing way. But I think they would quit rather than be in front of a camera. So
I understand.
I'll get there one day.
It's that part of the job too, right? Standing and hosting and entertaining it's not always what people want. So you have to respect that too.
Exactly. I mean, when I did the first live stream, I was dragged kicking and screaming in front of that camera.
Oh wow, that's
yeah. I was like, why was
happy that they dragged you in front of the camera then?
Very, as it turned out,
right?
Yeah, then the ego landed. I was like, oh, I love this.
I love it.
But I was talking to the video director about it recently, and we were talking about the first one, and they kept saying to me, they're like, just a bit warmer, just give us a little bit more of a smile. And now I'm
natural.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I would love for you to share with the audience, and that I think that you really succeeded with, is really, I mean, content is everything. Content is king, queen. If you can do shows every day, if the content is not there, if it doesn't speak the language, it's not going to work, right? And I would love to understand how your content creation process looks like. Do you have a process, or is it very like ad hoc and spontaneous? And also, how do you conceptualize the shows and decide on topics, host, etc.? If you could share some of the, of course, not the secret sauce, but some of the, preparations and just give a guidance to people that are working within luxury. They've just started with this new tool, or they've been doing it for 2 years and they need some inspiration. Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think there definitely is an ad hoc nature to it. But I think with something new like this, it has to be. You can't plan everything. You can't be really kind of strict and regimental in exactly what it is you want to do, because the nature of it needs to be a little bit more fluid and, whatever feels right at the time. And it is definitely, kind of throw it on the wall and see what sticks a little bit. Or was anyway. And now we've got to the point where like, okay, we know this now, where this works. And, it's thinking as well about price point. And, you've got to remember that, Net-a-Porter will be 25 years old this year. 25 years ago, the people buying luxury online was unheard of. Be like, absolutely not. People are going to go into a store and they want to touch it and feel it.
Yeah.
Then it's buying fine jewelry. No, people want that experience, and are men going to buy watches online? And of course they do, and it takes some time, and it's there's lessons, and this is the same, and people are seeing the product move. I mean, everyone knows this. I think if you look at video content in general, and the amount of video content that's everywhere now, and social media has moved much more into video and animated content rather than stills, because the people want to see that, and then that's kind of how we shop, because you're seeing things move, you're seeing someone talk to you about it in the palm of your hand. You've got your expert in the palm of your hand, and so I think there's nothing. I mean, I think where you're seeing, this huge trend at the moment, TikTok shop, and now everyone's like, oh, what's the new TikTok going to be, because of, whether it gets closed in America, and seeing the different, like these very clever people thinking, oh, we could try this, and people buying art on a live stream, and there's a huge amount out there that people are trying, and some of it will work, and some of it will be here, and you'll in a few years won't be able to imagine your life without it. And others you'll forget about. So I think it's all about experimentation, all of it.
I love that.
And when it works,
that view on it, right? It's you're trying and you're innovating, and you're always trying new things, and then of course with the data sets you can see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, and some things aren't perfect.
No,
but it doesn't need to be perfect at this point. And I think that's also what helps to humanize a brand and give it warmth. If there's somebody there who, I mean, I always completely destroy the names of brands, I think, sometimes with my accent. And I will say it, I'm like apologizing to brands. I'm like, I love your stuff, I just can't pronounce it properly. But because I think it's authentic,
it's charming.
And that's
it's charming. It's authentic, right? It's you.
Yeah, it's me. I'm a bit of a mess sometimes, but I love my clothes.
That's what makes you human, right? We're not perfect. We're not computers. So yeah, I think it's going to be even more important in the world of AI and digitalization really taking over, and we're going to have digital twins, and I think just the human connection is going to be more important than ever.
I hope so. Yeah.
Me too.
It's like having a personal shopper. When you connect with somebody in that way and understand and feel like their style is the same as yours, and you understand their edit. And I think that's curation is key, and the human touch for sure.
Curation and human touch and experimenting. I love that. That's three good. That's really good advices to the audience. And you get a lot of feedback during a show. I mean, I love that you can really live see what people are commenting, liking, and you get a lot of data stats from the platform. Like, from all of the feedback that you get, do you take that in consideration, and what do you do with all the feedback? Do you take them into preparing for new shows, or for going back to the buyers, like this was really liked or this sold out? How do you use that real-time feedback?
I mean, it always depends where the feedback's come from, I think. I think with anything, you're always your own worst critic. rather than anyone who's actually, watching it. So there's, I think we sort of change things, whether it's the length of something, how much product we're showing. But to be honest, it's less the feedback we get from, there's very little negative feedback, or very little kind of constructive feedback as well.
It's mostly like questions about the products, or a lot of love also. I see a lot of love being, a lot of warmth.
Yeah, definitely. But in-house, we are the ones who are like, let's change this, let's try this instead. Whether it's the set that we're in, how we're filming it. So it's there's a lot. We'll be the ones in-house that will want to make the changes, because we're involved in every single one of them, and we
Of course
can see all the stats.
Yeah. And then my last question on Net-a-Porter Live. Do you have any main takeaways from the live streams? Like, what have you seen that has had the most impact on your business? Brand awareness, building community, product discovery, reduced returns. Is it anything you see there that you would like to highlight, that you think is unique and worth mentioning?
I think that it's, I mean, I don't have the figures for returns, but I think we know in video content generally, then, I think you guys have proved as well that there's evidence that it reduces returns. Because also you have someone talking about the fit and the size of something and how it works, and, and what to wear with it. And even if it's the length of it, I mean, it's often I hold up a pair of trousers and I could, they're basically longer than I am. So then you can kind of see, the length of something and whether it works or not. But I think there's also a huge kind of an increase in product discovery because we're mixing brands together. We're not just showing full looks. So and there's also an increase in brand awareness too, because it doesn't just live on the app. We then put it onto social media. So then it's a different customer who may not have seen it on the app or knew that we were doing it, then get to engage with it in a different way and then find it on site. So it's content that travels, and it's not just, it might be live, but we have an entire landing page that has past live streams on it that people can watch, and also it's inspirational content. That's what it needs. That's what it should be. So it's inspiring people to shop, inspiring people to style,
to discover, right?
Yeah, and a lot of what we talk about, and again going back to this idea of kind of the forever closet and longevity, is I'll talk about a piece that will be new this season, but then pair it with something that is more of a kind of wardrobe essential that most of our viewers and customers will have in their closet. And it's like, this is how this works with what you already have, rather than we expect you to buy all of this brand new right now. It's about making it work for that woman's life now, and not about changing everything.
I love that. I really love that. I mean, this has been a treasure trove of knowledge and inspiration. I love it. And I think this show is called The Forecast because we always want to ask our guests if we would have a crystal ball looking into the future, right? Everybody wants to have the crystal ball and predict the future. How do you predict that e-commerce, especially within the luxury landscape, will evolve in the near future? And also, are you seeing any technologies on the horizon that you think are going to be dominant in this space?
It's a great question, and I wish I did have a crystal ball and knew what that would be. I am really excited to see what happens with live shopping, and I'm not just saying that because of, obviously what we're talking about, but I do think that is a place that has so much opportunity, and I do think that the fallout of people talking about the results, talk about TikTok shop again, and it's a very different market. It's not luxury at all.
No.
But the panic of people being like this, and when I think when people realize the worth of that market, And then the competitors coming in to sort of see what they can do in that space, I think will be really interesting. And I think that space is just literally for the taking. And it's the same as 25 years ago when looking at the online e-commerce market. And, that's proved that people shop a lot online. And this is the same thing. And I always say to people, I said, it's so funny in fashion where it changes all the time. And yet people hate change in fashion. And everything's incredibly slow to change or to change in the way that people... I think usually customers will lead, obviously, in the way that they actually shop, rather than a brand saying you should do this. And I think we need to look at what's happening out there in the non-luxury market to see how then that drives the luxury market. And I think there's a huge community of consumers already who understand it and trust it. And I think brands need to kind of stop with the panic or not understanding it and just try it. It's a really exciting space. I'm thrilled that I get to be part of it. As I say, I was dragged in kicking and screaming to do the first one, and now they can barely get me out of the live stream studio. I'm like, okay, when are we doing another one?
I love it. You're the movement right now, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Kate, thank you so much for guesting the forecast today. And I really think our listeners, if I just go to myself, appreciate this one a lot. And I've learned so much from talking to you, and it feels like I have a much deeper understanding of just like consumer behaviors within the luxury industry, but also like your strategy for innovation and excelling in creating the best customer experiences, because in the end of the day, that's what it's all about, no matter channel or format. So thank you so much for joining, and
thank you for having me.
See you soon.
See you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.